Now, police crackdown on the Freedom Convoy has started in Ottawa, with hundreds of police officers descending on protesters, arresting demonstrators and towing rigs that have been blocking the streets. While some protesters left, most continued to hold their ground. Now, demonstrators burst out with the national anthem, O Canada. Occasional scuffles broke out between police and protesters. Police have arrested over 70 protesters and towed away vehicles blocking the streets, clearing streets under siege by the Freedom Convoy protests.
Am I allowed to push back or not?
Don't resist arrest, man. No, we don't want to resist it. Don't resist.
I'm not resisting. I mean,
it's not worth it.
Protesters have been blockading downtown Ottawa with heavy trucks lined up outside Parliament and the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau's office. Hundreds of police officers have now started evacuating the protesters as truckers continue their demand suspension of all COVID mandates.
it's time to hold the line for freedom. You've got tyranny coming down on top of us in Ottawa because the evil ones know that this is where they win or lose. Unfortunately, these police officers have been put in a very bad position. But their decision now as to which side of history they're on is to be made. Are they for liberty or are they for tyranny?
Meanwhile, top Canadian ministers say the protesters must leave and should not be allowed to usurp the authority of democratically elected governments. The country's deputy prime minister called these protests a foreign-funded threat.
If you think you can walk down George,
if your truck is being used in these protests, your bank account will be frozen and your insurance will be suspended. The consequences for taking part in these illegal blockades are real. When this crisis is over, all of us are going to need to work hard to heal our country. But today, our economy and our democracy are facing a serious and foreign-funded threat.
For anyone who continues to remain as part of the illegal blockade, we have a very simple and straightforward message. Leave. Leave now. Enforcement operations are being undertaken, and for your safety, the safety of Canadians, and the safety of those law enforcement officers who are on the ground discharging their responsibilities right now, the best thing that you can do is to leave.
A number of trucks soon began to leave under pressure. Tow truck operators arrived under police escort and started removing campers and other vehicles parked shoulder to shoulder near Parliament. Some trucks were seen being driven away. Now, the scuffle broke out in front of a downtown hotel. Police have sealed off much of the area to outsiders.
I know how to pick up a car from a tow yard, so no worries. These guys are the biggest threat to everyone's safety around here, so getting away from them is the biggest thing.
On Monday, Trudeau invoked emergency powers to give his government wider authority to stop the protests. Legislators were supposed to debate those temporary powers on Friday. However, the House of Commons suspended its session, citing police activity. Now, hundreds of trucker-led protesters have been occupying the Canadian capital centre for 3 weeks now, and they have been defiant against the order to disperse or face arrests. The so-called Freedom Convoy began with truckers protesting against mandatory COVID vaccines to cross the US border. The demands have now grown to include an end to all pandemic rules.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.